Max, an 18-year-old college student, always had a lot on his mind. But there was one thing in his house that made him forget all his worries: his Aunt Marina. Aunt Marina was a woman of incredible charm, unlike Max's strict mother. Her long, flowing chestnut hair framed her delicate, romantic features. Her curls often fell softly on her shoulders, and when she smiled, it seemed like they played with the light, creating a radiant glow around her. Her face was sweet and expressive, without a single wrinkle. Her smile was one of her most attractive features, with full, rosy lips that always seemed to invite warmth. Aunt Marina's husband worked long shifts up north and was often away for months. Every time he left, Aunt Marina was left alone, and it was clear she missed him dearly. These long months of absence were a real test for her. Though she was a strong and cheerful woman, she sometimes felt lonely. Every corner of the house reminded her of her husband, his ability to create a cozy atmosphere, and how he was always ready to help with anything. Among Max's friends, there were rumors about Aunt Marina, that while her husband was away, she would bring men home. Max didn't trust these rumors, but there was something about Aunt Marina that was undeniably captivating, something that could draw men's attention. One day, Max decided to visit his friend, Alex. He was looking forward to hanging out and playing video games together. However, when he arrived at Alex's house, he was greeted by Aunt Marina, who looked anxious. "Hi, Max," she smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. "Alex isn't home. He's in the hospital." Max, confused and concerned, asked what had happened. Aunt Marina explained that Alex had a minor health issue, and the doctors decided he should stay under observation for a few days. "Oh, I see," Max said, furrowing his brow. "I hope he'll be okay." Noticing that Max was a bit down, Aunt Marina unexpectedly said, "You know, since you're here, why don't you keep me company? Let me pour you something." Agreeing, Max entered the house and sat on the cozy couch in the living room. The atmosphere was unusual. The windows were draped with light curtains, and it was just the two of them, with 2 cups of tea and some sweet pastries Aunt Marina had baked the day before. She herself seemed sweet, glowing with joy for no apparent reason. As she sipped her tea, Aunt Marina suddenly became thoughtful and, looking at Max, asked, "So, how are things with girls? Is there someone you like?" Max, caught off guard by the question, blushed and started fidgeting with the edge of his sweater, unsure how to respond. "Well, I don't know," he mumbled, trying to find the right words. "There's this one girl, but I'm not sure if she... Aunt Marina, noticing his embarrassment, smiled and winked. "Don't be shy. At your age, it's completely normal. The most important thing is to start gaining experience. You know, sometimes I feel sad too when my husband is away. And I've got so much experience, it's time to share it with someone," she chuckled. Max, even more flustered by her words, tried to distract himself by reaching for his tea. At that moment, Aunt Marina accidentally bumped the cup with her elbow, spilling the tea. "Oh," she exclaimed with a slight startle, looking at the tea spreading across the tablecloth. "What a mess." Max, embarrassed, looked at his clothes and then at Aunt Marina. His face turned even redder. He felt awkward not just because of the stains but also because the attention was now focused on him. "It's okay," he tried to reassure her, but she shook her head and started taking his sweater off. No, Max, this needs to be washed. I can't let you walk around with a stain," she said with a smile, taking the sweater. "I'll go wash it." Before Max could protest, Aunt Marina quickly headed to the kitchen, holding the sweater. He was left sitting in his t-shirt, his face still burning with embarrassment. The situation had become a bit awkward, and he felt out of place, forcing a smile to lighten the mood. But Aunt Marina was in a serious mood that evening. "Listen, maybe we should wash the rest of your clothes too. Come on, give me everything you've got," she insisted, not realizing how uncomfortable Max was. The boy just nodded timidly and complied. Aunt Marina, noticing how Max sat there shyly without his sweater, moved closer and, looking into his eyes, said with a slight smile, "You know, Max, I actually spilled the tea on purpose. You look better without the sweater." Max, surprised, raised his eyebrows, not understanding what she meant. His heart started beating faster. She added, "I just wanted to give us a reason to spend some time together," as she reached out and gently took his wrist, pulling him closer. Max felt his embarrassment turn into a slight excitement. "Come on, I have something interesting to show you," she said, leading him to her room. Max, still a bit confused, obediently followed her, feeling his heart race from the unexpected turn of events. His mind was swirling with thoughts about what might happen next, and he couldn't help but feel that this moment would become something special for him. When Max entered Aunt Marina's room, he was struck by what he saw. The room was cozy and seemed prepared for this encounter. A large bed with soft pillows was covered in rose petals, creating an atmosphere of comfort and celebration. Scented candles on the shelves emitted a soft, muted light and a pleasant aroma. On a table in the corner of the room stood a bottle of wine. Inside, Max felt a battle of emotions, unsure if this was appropriate. Aunt Marina, noticing his surprised look, walked over to the table and, with a smile, opened the bottle. The smell of grapes filled the room, and she poured a glass to the brim, insistently handing it to Max. "Here," she said, "you're a big boy now, and there's nothing wrong with this." Max hesitated, looking at the wine and then at Aunt Marina, who was waiting for his reaction with a kind smile. He felt a mix of embarrassment and curiosity, understanding that this was a moment he hadn't expected. He carefully took the glass, trying not to show his nervousness, and looked into her eyes. With each glass, the atmosphere in the room became more tense and exciting. At first, the conversation was light and casual, but with each sip of alcohol, the laughter grew louder, and Aunt Marina's glances became hungrier. Usually reserved and cautious, Aunt Marina began to relax. Her cheeks flushed slightly, and her eyes sparkled. Max, sitting next to her, caught her gaze, and something more than just conversation began to develop between them. She joked, flirted, and even winked at the young man, giving him a unique lesson. After all, she had a lot of experience, and she had much to teach. Aunt Marina realized she couldn't stop now. It was spontaneous, but at the same time, she felt that this was what she had been missing in her husband's absence. Max, at that moment, understood that all the rumors about Aunt Marina's escapades were true. He had been foolish not to believe them. This little secret they would carry with them would remain between the two of them, and even her son, Alex, would never know what happened that evening.